Bonjour, this is Book 1, Linguistic Sign. Discuss in detail the contributions of Ferdinand de Saussure's theories. So, language is one of the most important tools humans use to think, communicate, and express feelings. But how does language actually work? What gives words their meaning? These questions were answered in a revolutionary way by Ferdinand de Saussure. So, we are trying to look at how do words get their meanings. So, a Swiss linguist, often called the father of modern linguistics, one of Saussure's most important ideas was linguistic sign. His theory changed how we understand words, meaning, and communication. It laid the foundation for many fields such as structuralism, semiotics. Semiotics is a study of meaning, and modern linguistic studies. So, what is a linguistic sign? Saussure explained that a linguistic sign is a basic unit of language. Every word or expression in a language is a sign. Every sign has two parts, the signifier and signified. This is the sound of the written word from form of a word. For example, the spoken word tree or the letter tree. TREE, we are writing in the book TREE. What is happening is the signified is happening. That is the concept or the idea or the word it refers to. This is the concept or the idea the word refers to. In this case, the mental image of the tall plant with branches and leaves, this picture comes into our mind. So, another example. So, when we hear the word dog, the sound dog is a signifier, and the image or the idea of a furry four-legged animal is the signified. Together, they form the linguistic sign for dog. So, that is how we think. That is how in our mind words are formed. Our meanings are there in our mind. So, Myra, a 5-year-old in Delhi, was learning new words. Her mother showed her a picture of an apple and said, "This is an apple." For Myra, the sound apple became connected to a red round fruit she saw in the picture. That is how the linguistic sign formed in her mind. So, the word apple is a sound or the signifier, and the idea is the signified. Idea, I mean, is a mental picture in the mind. So, what are the key features of Saussure's linguistic sign? So, now we are learning the features. We understand what is a sign. We understand it is two parts, and now we are moving on to the features of that sign. The first thing, the relationship is arbitrary. So, Saussure emphasized that there is no natural connection between the signifier, the word, and the signified. That this means the word apple does not naturally or necessarily mean a fruit. In French, it is called pomme. In Hindi, it is called save. In Spanish, manzana. These different words refer to a same object, but each language uses a different sound or signifier. So, the signifier is not the same in all the languages. So, there is an arbitrariness. That means, 1 minute. So, what is arbitrariness? Arbitrariness is when there is this meaninglessness. That is, why is apple called an apple? Why is it called a save? Why is it called manzana? Nobody knows. So there is no answer to it. That is arbitrariness. So that relationship is arbitrary. So the second one is the sign is a mental concept. So the second feature of sign is it is a mental concept. It is related to mind. So linguistic sign is not just a physical thing like a written word or a spoken sound. Saussure said it is a psychological thing. It lives in the mind of the speaker. That is why language works even when we are not speaking. We can still think using words. So that is, it is a mental concept. That is the thing. The third one is language is a system of differences. Words get their meaning not just by what they refer to, but by how they differ from other words. For example, cap is not cat or cab. The word mother makes sense partly because it's not father, sister, or aunt. Language is not is a network where each sign is defined by its relation to others. So what they're saying is, when you say cat, in your mind immediately what happens is, it tells you that it is not a dog, or it is not the contrast. So actually, when you say mother, it is not father, it's not brother, it's not sister, it is mother. So the differences pop up in your mind, and this is what this man is saying, that this is a feature of sign. So wherein whatever the words, they get their meaning not by just what they are, they get their meaning by what it is not also. So this is the third point. So Saussure's major contributions to linguistics. Saussure introduced several groundbreaking ideas that changed how we study language. Let us explore his main contributions. So now we are going to his contributions into this particular theory. So first of all, language is a system of signs. Saussure's most important idea is that language is a system of signs. Each sign consists of two parts, signifier, signified. We learned it already. Signifier, signifiant, which is the sound or the image or form, that is the word tree, and signified, that is the concept or meaning, that is the mental image of the tree in our mind. Together, the signifier and the signified make up a linguistic sign. According to Saussure, the link between the signifier and signified is arbitrary, meaning there is no natural reason why a certain sound, tree, should represent a certain concept, the object of a tree. So, linguistic sign again mentioned that that is the spoken word apple, and this is the signified is a red fruit, and the linguistic sign for an apple. So, arbitrariness of the sign. Example, the object is called apple in English, palm in French, sebe in Arabic. So, the object is the same, but the word signifier is different in each language. This proves that the connection between the word and the thing is arbitrary, not natural. Okay, let's go to the second one. Langue versus parole. Saussure made a distinction between langue and parole. Langue, the structured system, it is structured, of rules and conventions shared by a speech community, the social side of the language. So how is English spoken? Parole, the individual speech acts, or how people actually use in language in everyday communication, like how in the speech community, how do people use, that is parole. So he argued that linguists should focus on langue to understand the underlying structure of language rather than parole, which is too variable and personal. So parole, people change however they want. So he wants us to concentrate more on langue. So langue is standard. So the grammar rules of English, like subject verb agreement, he walks, not he walked. Parole, you're saying he walked fast yesterday, a mistake in real speech. Language is a system everyone shares. Parole is your personal use which may break rules. So now what we are going to do is we are going to go to the third point, that is synchronic versus diachronic. So before Saussure, linguistics was mostly historical. Okay, so what I mean to say is before Saussure, linguistics was mostly historical or diachronic, concerned with how languages change over time. Saussure, so that was before Saussure. Saussure introduced the importance of synchronic linguistics, a study of language at a specific point in time, often the present. He emphasized that understanding the structure of a language at a given moment is essential for analyzing its function. So diachronic is how Latin evolved into French. Synchronic is how modern French grammar works today. So let us see the example. Synchronic, studying how people text on WhatsApp today. They just put the word you. Instead of you, they'll just put you. So diachronic is, in the olden days, we never used to use you. We used to use the word thou. That is many centuries back, the Bible language. So how did thou change to you? And then how did you change to a little u, like only letter u? How did it change in centuries like that? How did it change? That is diachronic. So presently, what are we using for you in WhatsApp language? Just the letter u. So that is synchronic. So one looks at language now. That is synchronic. The other looks at language change over the time. That is diachronic. So let us go to fourth one, which is structuralism and binary oppositions. So what is that we are doing right now? Saussure has contributed something into this theory. So what are his thoughts? What is he telling? So structuralism and binary oppositions made easy. So what about Ferdinand de Saussure, a famous linguist, said that words don't have meaning on their own. Instead, words get their meaning by being different from other words. The word cat doesn't mean a furry pet because it sounds like a cat or looks like one. The word doesn't even look like a cat. It means cat because it's not a rat, it is not a bat, it's not a dog. So what happens is, we know that cat means, we know what cat means by comparing it to other words in our mind. So there are so many words in our mind. So out of all those words, what is a cat? The brain will tell us, okay, this is a cat, because it looks in relation with so many other words which have the same kind of sound. So this idea shows that meaning comes from difference, not from how a word sounds or looks. It is called structuralism. Structuralism is what sort of structure is there in your mind already. So let us see what is structuralism. And is a way of thinking that structuralism is a way of thinking that looks at how parts of a system relate to each other in language. This means words only make sense because of how they are different from other words. You understand things by seeing how they are opposite or different from other things. These are called binary oppositions, like hot, cold, male, female, dark, light. So we have immediate opposites or binary oppositions. So based on that, our mind pops up the meaning. So we should have the opposites in our mind. So the value of a sign. So he told about the value of a sign. That is, according to Saussure, a sign does not have absolute value, but a relational value. It gets its meaning from its position in the system and its difference from other signs. It gets its meaning from its position in the system and it's different from other signs. For example, number 6 only makes sense because we understand it as it is more than 5 and less than 7. This approach led to understanding language as a closed system of relationships, which is a core idea in structural linguistics. Relational value of signs. Example, the word cheap has value only because there is also a word expensive. On a menu, 5 sounds cheap for a steak. If all other steaks are $20, $5 sounds cheap. The meaning or the value of a word or price comes from its relation to others, not from itself alone. 6th point. Influence on later thinkers. So whatever Saussure said has influenced Roman Jacobson, has influenced Noam Chomsky. He also generative grammar through Chomsky later moved beyond structuralism. Then Claude Lévi-Strauss, Ronald Barthes, and Michael Foucault, Derrida. So lots of people were affected by this thought. So what we're trying to say is Ferdinand de Saussure changed linguistics from a historical comparative discipline into a systematic structural science. His ideas gave rise to modern linguistics and laid the groundwork for many 20th century developments in semiotics, literary theory and philosophy. So what are the key concepts? What is the summary? First, talk about linguistic sign, talk about signifier, signified, talk about arbitrariness. That is, no natural connection between the word and the meaning. There is no natural connection. So then talk about language versus parole. That is, talk about system of language versus the individual speech. Then talk about synchronic versus diachronic. That is, talk about language at a moment and language over time, how it is. So synchronic is at the moment, what the language is. Structuralism, talk about language as a system of differences. Then the answer will be done.